Welcome back, Algebra 2. In this video, we'll be going over how to solve, and we are going to use two different methods in this video. So we've got our quadratic equation shown on the screen here, and one of the methods that we're going to be using is factoring. So when I look at this quadratic equation, I see that my leading coefficient, and the x squared term, is not 1, and it's also, I can't divide all three terms by 6 and end up with a nice whole number. So that tells me that I'm going to probably be doing factoring by grouping. So as a quick refresher, when we're doing factoring by grouping, we're going to multiply the first term, the coefficient of the first term, and the coefficient of the last term. So we're going to do 6 times negative 20, and that's going to give us negative 120. The next thing we want to do is to come up with a list of numbers that multiply to 120. So that's going to be a lot. So we can do things like negative 1 and positive 120, and we can reverse that, right? So we can also do 1 comma negative 120. And we can go on and on here, right? I mean, we can do 120 divided by 2, so we can do negative 2 and 60, and we can also do the opposite of that. And so we're going to want to keep going with our list, but I'm going to just kind of speed things up here and say that we're probably going to be looking for the pair of numbers that is either negative 8 and positive 15 or positive 8 and negative 15, because what we're looking for in this pair of numbers is for when we add them together, we want them to add to negative 7. Now, the only pair that actually does that is this one right here. So this is what we're going to replace in our equation over here. So what that's going to look like is I'm going to have 6x squared, and I'm going to write this as, let's do plus 8x minus 15x minus 20 equals 0. Okay, so the reason I did that is because I'm literally just replacing the negative 7x with this, because if I simplify this, I'm going to get negative 7 anyway. So as just a quick refresher, I'm going to go ahead and group some things, but before I do that, I'm going to turn this into a plus minus just to make things a little easier to work with. So I'm going to group the first two terms together, so these two, and I'm going to group these two. So what that looks like is I'm going to have two sets of parentheses, a plus sign equal to 0. So I have 6x squared plus 8x in one, and I have negative 15x minus 20 in the other. Now I want to see what I can take out of both. I can take out a 2x. I can divide both of these things by 2x over here. So I'm going to write 2x over here, and I'm writing this as 3x plus 4 because that's what's left over, plus, now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Over here, though, I can only divide by 5, and I'm going to divide by a negative 5 because I want the stuff that's left over in parentheses to look like the 3x plus 4 I have over here so that I can factor again. So because I divided by negative 5, that's going to come out. Negative 15x divided by 5 is going to give us a positive 3. Negative 20 divided by negative 5 is positive 4. Okay, so now I've got an equation that looks like this. I've got, two of those things called 3x plus 4. So I'm going to factor again. I'm going to factor out the 3x plus 4. And I'm going to write the 2x minus 5 in its own set of parentheses. Now I can use the zero product property and solve for 0. So I have 3x plus 4 equals 0. And I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. I get 3x equals negative 4. Divide by 3, divide by 3. And one of my solutions is going to be x equals negative 4/3. I'm going to do the same thing with the other quantity. Add 5, add 5. I end up with 2x equals 5, divide by 2, divide by 2. And my other solution is x equals 5 halves. So I solved by factoring. If I use the quadratic formula, I should end up with the same two solutions of negative 4/3 and 5 halves. I've already identified my A, B, and C, and you can see that here. And I've already substituted them into my quadratic formula, as you can see here. If you need to pause the video and convince yourselves of that, please do so now. Okay, let's start simplifying. This is going to turn into 7 plus or minus. I'm going to have, let's see, negative 7 times negative 7 is going to give me a positive 49. Plus, and I know I'm going to have a plus because I have a negative times a negative. This negative times this negative. So I have negative 4 times 6 times negative 20. That gives me a whopping 480. Divided by 12. Okay, let's simplify even more. X equals 7 plus or minus the square root of 49 plus 480. So now I end up with 529 all over 12. Let's simplify even more. So what's nice is that 529 is a perfect squared number. If you plug that into your calculator, the square root of 529 is going to be 23 all over 12. So my two solutions are 7 plus 23 divided by 12. And the other one is going to be 7 minus 23 divided by 12. And we can simplify both of these. So let's start off by simplifying the top. 7 plus 23, this is going to be 30 over 12. And what we can do is we can divide the numerator and denominator by 6. 30 divided by 6 is 5. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So there's my first answer, 5 halves, which was over here when we factored. And then we do 7 minus 23, which is negative 16, divided by 12. I can divide the numerator and denominator by 4. So when I do that, I get negative 4 over 3, which is what I got over here when I factored. Go ahead and try the next one on your own and then check the solution.